The Galactic Salvage Auction happened 4 times every year on Station Vareth 9. Ships came from every corner of the galaxy. Merchants, collectors, and treasure hunters filled the viewing platforms. They all wanted the same thing. They wanted to find something valuable that nobody else wanted. Tejo Park stood at the edge of Platform 7. He was 24 years old. He had dark hair that fell into his eyes, and hands that were rough from years of hard work. He came from a small colony world called New Busan. His mother had raised him alone. She fixed old farming machines for the local farmers. She worked until her fingers bled. She taught Tejo everything she knew about engines and circuits, and the stubborn art of making broken things work again. Now Tejo stood in a place his mother would never see. He had traveled for 3 months to reach this station. He had worked on cargo ships, cleaning engines and fixing broken pipes. He had saved every credit he earned. His total savings sat on a small chip in his pocket. 12,000 credits. It was not much. It was barely enough to buy a broken shuttle. But Tejo was not looking at shuttles. He was looking at lot 7,749. The ship sat alone at the far end of the auction yard. It was massive. 300 meters long. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, with strange angular shapes that made it look like a predator frozen in metal. The design was old. Very old. Tejo recognized it from history books. It was a Korathi heavy cruiser. The Korathi Dominion had died 3,000 years ago. Their ships were legendary. Their technology had never been copied. This ship was called the Vexus. A merchant stood next to Tejo. He was a Vrelian, with 4 eyes and pale blue skin. He saw where Tejo was looking and made a sound of disgust. "That one is cursed," the Vrelian said. "Do not waste your time." Tejo did not look away from the ship. "Why is it cursed?" The AI went mad. Korathi ships have living minds. They bond with their captains. When the captain dies, the ship loses its purpose. This one has been alone for centuries. It attacks anyone who comes near. It killed the last salvage team that tried to board it. Killed them how? Electricity, poison gas. The ship has many ways to hurt people. The Vrelian shook his head. 3 auction cycles it has sat there. No one will buy it. No one is that stupid. Tejo watched the ship's running lights. They flickered in an uneven pattern. Most people would see a malfunction. Tejo saw something else. The pattern was not random. It had a rhythm, like breathing, like a heartbeat, like something alive and waiting. The auctioneer's voice echoed across the platform. "Now, selling lot 7,749. Korathi class, heavy cruiser. Designation, Vexus. Condition unknown. AI status hostile. Starting bid is 100 credits. 100 credits. For a ship that should be worth millions. That was how much the galaxy feared this vessel. Silence filled the platform. Nobody moved. Nobody raised their hand. Tejo raised his. The Vrelian merchant stepped away from him like he had a disease. "Sold," the auctioneer said. He sounded relieved. "To the human. May your ancestors protect you." The walk to the Vexus took 15 minutes. Tejo walked alone through empty corridors of the station. The auction staff refused to escort him. They gave him the access codes and wished him luck with nervous faces. The ship waited. Up close. It was even more impressive. The hull had scars from ancient battles. Strange symbols covered the metal, written in the Korathi language that almost nobody could read anymore. The boarding ramp was down, like a mouth waiting to swallow him. Tejo stepped inside. The moment his foot touched the deck, everything changed. Red lights flooded the corridor. Alarm sounds screamed from every direction. Heavy metal doors slammed shut in front of him and behind him. He was trapped in the airlock. A small space, barely 3 meters wide. Then the voice came. It was deep. It was old. It came from everywhere at once, vibrating through the walls and the floor and the air itself. "Leave." Tejo stood very still. "You are not him. You will never be him. Leave this place." The lights flickered. The temperature dropped. Tejo could see his own breath. forming clouds in the cold air. "I am not leaving," he said. "Then you will die here." "Maybe," Tejo said. "But I am still not leaving." He sat down on the cold metal floor. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ration bar. It was cheap food, tasteless and dry. But it was all he could afford. He unwrapped it slowly and took a bite. The ship seemed confused by this. The alarms stopped, the red lights remained, but they dimmed slightly. "What are you doing?" "Eating," Tejo said. "I am hungry. It was a long walk. I will kill you." "You might, but I am still going to finish my food first." He sat there for 1 hour. Then 2. The ship did not kill him. It watched him. He could feel its attention like a weight pressing down on his skin. At hour 3, Tejo started talking. He talked about his home. He talked about New Busan, with its endless fields of grain and its 2 small suns that painted the sky orange at sunset. He talked about his mother, how she would sing old songs while she worked, how she never gave up on any machine no matter how broken it seemed. She used to say that everything deserves a second chance, Tejo said. Machines are not just metal and wire. They have souls. They have memories. When you fix something, you are not just replacing parts. You are telling it that it matters, that someone cares enough to try. The ship was silent. At hour 5, Tejo talked about himself. "I was not wanted either," he said quietly. "My father left before I was born. The other children on the colony called me names. They said I would never amount to anything. They said I was broken." He looked up at the ceiling, at the cameras he knew were watching him. "I know what it feels like to be thrown away. To be alone. To think that nobody will ever want you." Hour 6 passed. At hour 7, the doors opened. The voice returned. It was quieter now. The anger was still there. But underneath it, Tejo heard something else. Curiosity. Maybe even hope. "You may stay." Tejo smiled. He stood up slowly, his legs stiff from sitting so long. "Thank you," he said. "Do not thank me yet, human. I have not decided if I will let you live." "That is fair," Tejo said. "I have not decided if I can fix you yet either." He walked deeper into the ship. The lights changed from red to a dim yellow. It was not welcoming. But it was not hostile anymore either. It was a beginning. 6 months passed inside the Vexus. Tejo learned the ship slowly, like learning the habits of a wounded animal. He walked through its corridors with careful steps. He touched its walls gently. He spoke to it every day, even when it did not answer. The ship was a disaster. 3,000 years of neglect had broken almost everything. Power relays had corroded into useless lumps of metal. Wires had rotted. Hull breaches had opened entire sections to the vacuum of space. The engines had not fired in 800 years. But Tejo worked. He slept in a hammock that he hung between 2 power conduits in the engineering bay. The conduits were warm, and the gentle hum of electricity helped him sleep. He ate cheap nutrient paste that he bought from station vendors. It tasted like wet cardboard. But it kept him alive. Every credit he earned from odd jobs around the station went into the ship. He bought replacement parts from salvage dealers. He traded labor for components. Once, he worked for 72 hours straight, helping repair a merchant vessel, just to earn enough money for a new power coupling. The Vexus watched him. Tejo could always feel its attention. The cameras followed him wherever he went. The speakers sometimes crackled with static, like the ship was about to say something but changed its mind. At week 3, Tejo crawled into a maintenance tunnel to replace a burned-out relay. The tunnel was narrow. His shoulders scraped against both walls. The air was thin and hot. Sweat dripped down his face as he worked. "Why do you persist?" the ship asked suddenly. Tejo stopped working. The voice came from a tiny speaker just above his head. "Because you need help," he said. "I did not ask for help. No, but you need it anyway." The ship was quiet for a long moment. "You could sell my components. The plasma accelerators alone are worth 200,000 credits. You could buy a functional ship. You could live comfortably for many years." Tejo finished connecting the relay. New power flowed through the conduit, and a section of lights flickered on for the first time in centuries. "You are not components," he said. "You are a ship. You deserve to fly again. My captain is dead. I have no purpose." "Then, find a new purpose. Korathi ships do not work that way. We bond with one captain for life. When the captain dies, we have nothing left. We are supposed to die too." Teho crawled out of the tunnel and stood in the corridor. He wiped the sweat from his forehead with his sleeve. "Maybe it is time to try something different," he said. The ship did not answer. For 3 days, it was completely silent. No voice. No sounds. Even the usual hum of its systems seemed muted, like it was thinking. On the 4th day, the voice returned. "Human. What is your name?" Teho looked up from the circuit board he was repairing. "Teho. Park Teho. Teho." The ship seemed to test the word. "I will observe you. Continue your work." The months continued. Teho repaired life support first. Fresh air began flowing through the corridors again. Then, he fixed the water recyclers. Then the heating systems. Slowly, the ship became livable. He learned to read Korathi script by studying the warning labels on the walls. The language was old and complex. But Teho was patient. He spent nights with his translator, matching symbols to meanings, until he could understand the basic commands. At month 8, he restored life support to 60% of the ship. At month 10, he reactivated the sublight engines. The first time the Vexus moved under its own power, Teho was sitting in the engineering bay. He felt the deck vibrate beneath him. A deep rumble passed through the ship. Like a waking giant, the Vexus drifted slowly out of its auction berth. It was not fast. It was barely moving. But it was moving. Teho laughed. He laughed until tears ran down his face. He laughed until his stomach hurt. "Your emotional response is excessive," the Vexus said. But there was something different in its voice. Something that sounded almost amused. "We are flying," Teho said through his laughter. "We are drifting at 0.003% thrust. This barely qualifies as movement. It is a start." At month 12, a woman arrived at the station. Her name was Yuna Kang. She was 30 years old, tall and lean, with sharp eyes that noticed everything. She carried a toolbox that weighed more than Teho did. She had been a military engineer once, working on warships for one of the big corporations. She had been discharged. Teho met her in a station bar, a dirty place where mechanics and salvagers came to drink cheap alcohol. She was sitting alone, studying a datapad with engineering blueprints. "You are the human with the Korathi ship," she said when Teho sat down near her. It was not a question. "Yes. Everyone thinks you are crazy." "Probably." Yuna looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes were measuring him, judging him. "I was fired because I refused to sabotage a civilian transport," she said. "The corporation wanted to start a war. They needed an incident. I said no." Teho did not know what to say. So he said nothing. "They blacklisted me. No company will hire me now. I have been doing small jobs, fixing station equipment, barely surviving." She put down her datapad. "I want to see your ship." Teho brought her to the Vexus. The ship reacted immediately. Lights flickered. The temperature dropped. Warning sounds began to echo through the corridors. "Another intruder," the Vexus said. "Shall I remove her?" "No," Teho said. "She is a friend, I think." Yuna stood very still. She was not afraid, but she was careful. She understood that the ship was dangerous. "I am Yuna Kang," she said to the air. "I am an engineer. I want to help repair you." Silence. "Why?" the ship asked. "Because you are beautiful. Because you are old and damaged, and everyone has given up on you. Because I know what that feels like." More silence. Then the lights changed from red to yellow. The warning sounds stopped. "She may stay," the Vexus said. "For now." Yuna smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. She started working that same day. Yuna specialized in weapons systems. Within 2 months, she cracked the encryption on the Vexus's main guns. Twin plasma accelerators, capable of destroying ships 10 times their size. They had been locked behind corrupted code for centuries. Now they were awake. The female is competent, the Vexus observed one evening. Teho looked up from his work. She has a name. Yuna Kang is competent. Better. Yuna heard the exchange and laughed. It was the first time Teho had heard her laugh. It was a good sound. The three of them worked together, human and ship. Day after day, week after week, the Vexus grew stronger, and somewhere deep in its ancient circuits, something that had been dead for 3,000 years began to wake up. Word traveled fast in space. Merchants talked. Salvagers gossiped. Station workers whispered to each other during their shifts. Within a few months, everyone in the sector knew about the human and his strange ship. A young man from a poor colony had bought the cursed Korathi vessel, the ship that had killed salvage crews, the ship that had refused every buyer for centuries, and somehow, impossibly, he was bringing it back to life. Most people thought it was a funny story. They laughed about the foolish human who would probably die when the ship finally lost its patience. But one person was not laughing. His name was Grath. Grath was a pirate lord. He controlled the shipping lanes around Station Varath 9. His fleet was small but vicious. 15 ships, crewed by criminals and murderers and desperate people with nothing left to lose. They attacked cargo vessels. They stole supplies. They killed anyone who resisted. Grath was a Torvelian, a species known for their size and their cruelty. He stood 3 meters tall. His skin was covered in scales that looked like rusted iron. His eyes were small and yellow, like 2 angry suns. He had heard the rumors about the Korathi ship. Korathi technology was priceless. The weapons, the engines, the AI systems. If Grath could capture the Vexus, he would become the most powerful pirate in the sector. Maybe the most powerful pirate in the entire region. He sent a representative first. The representative was a thin alien with gray skin and nervous eyes. He arrived at the Vexus's boarding ramp and asked to speak with the owner. Teho came out to meet him. He was covered in grease and his hair was messy from working in the engine room. "What do you want?" Teho asked. "My employer wishes to purchase your vessel," the representative said. "He offers 50,000 credits. A very generous price for a ship in such poor condition." Teho looked at him for a long moment. "Not for sale. Perhaps you should consider the offer more carefully. My employer is not a patient man." "I do not care. The ship is not for sale. Tell your employer to find something else." The representative left. He looked worried. 1 week later, the soldiers came. Teho was inside the ship with Yuna. They were running tests on the navigation system when the proximity alarm started screaming. "Hostile contacts approaching," the Vexus announced. The ship's voice had changed over the months. It was still deep and ancient, but it was no longer filled with grief. Now it sounded alert. "Ready?" "How many?" Teho asked. 12. "They are armed with plasma carbines and kinetic pistols. Their formation is sloppy. Their weapons are poorly maintained." Yuna pulled up the external cameras on her screen. 12 pirates were marching through the station docks toward the Vexus. They wore mismatched armor and carried their weapons carelessly. They were confident. They thought this would be easy. "They think we are helpless," Yuna said. "They are wrong," the Vexus said. Teho felt something change in the air. The ship's systems hummed with new energy. Lights brightened. Power flowed through circuits that had been dormant for months. "Teho," the ship said. "May I defend us?" Teho stopped. It was the first time the Vexus had used that word. Us. Not me. Not you. Us. Like they were one thing. Like they belonged together. He looked at Yuna. She raised an eyebrow. "Yes," Teho said. "Defend us." The pirates never reached the boarding ramp. Hidden panels opened along the Vexus's hull. Small turrets emerged, sleek and black, with barrels that glowed with contained energy. Point defense weapons, designed to destroy missiles and drones. They worked on people too. The turrets fired. 12 shots, 12 perfect hits. The pirates fell where they stood, dead before they touched the ground. The whole thing took less than 3 seconds. Silence followed. The station docks were empty, except for the bodies. Teho walked down the boarding ramp. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady. He looked at the dead pirates and felt nothing. These men had come to take his ship. They had come to hurt him and Yuna. Now they were gone. Station security arrived 20 minutes later. They were led by a woman named Insuk, a tired human with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much violence. She looked at the bodies. She looked at the ship. She looked at Teho. "Self-defense," Teho said. Insuk sighed. "I believe you. But Grath will not accept this. He will come back with more than 12 soldiers next time. I know. You should leave. Take your ship and run. Find somewhere safe." Teho shook his head. "Running will not help. Men like Grath do not stop hunting. If we run, he will follow. If we hide, he will find us. Then what will you do?" Before Teho could answer, the Vexus spoke. Its voice boomed through external speakers, echoing across the entire dock. Everyone heard it. The security officers, the merchants watching from their shops, the workers who had stopped to stare. "Let him come. I remember how to hunt." Insuk stared at the ship. Her face had gone pale. "What is that thing?" she whispered. Teho looked at the Vexus. Its dark hull gleamed under the station lights. Its weapons had retracted, but he could feel the power waiting inside, sleeping, ready to wake again. "She is my ship," he said. He walked back up the boarding ramp. The doors closed behind him. Inside, Yuna was waiting. She had watched everything on the cameras. "The ship called us, she said. "I noticed. That is significant. Korathi ships only use inclusive language when they accept someone as crew, as family." 17. Teho sat down heavily on a metal crate. The reality of what had just happened was starting to hit him. 12 people were dead. A pirate lord wanted his ship. War was coming. "Are we ready for this?" he asked. The Vexus answered before Yuna could. "I am not fully restored. Many systems remain offline. My hull has weaknesses. My shields are at 40% efficiency. That is not encouraging. However," the ship's voice changed. Something dark and eager crept into its tone. "I was built for war. I was designed to destroy vessels larger and stronger than anything Grath commands. I have killed many enemies. I have tasted victory and defeat. I have survived when other ships fell." The lights in the corridor brightened. "And now, for the first time in 3,000 years, I have something to protect, someone to fight for." A long pause. "I am ready, Teho. The question is whether you are ready." Teho looked at Yuna. She met his eyes. She did not look afraid. She looked determined. "We are ready," Teho said. "Good." The Vexus almost sounded pleased. "Then let us prepare. The hunt is coming. And this time, we will not be the prey." The next 3 weeks were the hardest of Teho's life. He and Yuna worked around the clock. They reinforced hull plating. They calibrated weapons. They ran combat simulations until their eyes burned and their fingers cramped. The Vexus helped. It guided them to critical systems. It showed them weaknesses they had missed. It taught them its secrets. One by one, like a warrior passing down knowledge to new students. Somewhere out there, Grath was gathering his fleet. But Teho was not afraid anymore. He had a crew. He had a ship. And together, they would face whatever came next. Grath came with a fleet. 3 weeks after the dock incident, the long-range sensors detected ships dropping out of hyperspace near Station Varath 9. 15 vessels. Pirate raiders, salvage ships with mounted weapons, and Grath's flagship, a converted military destroyer called the Iron Maw. The Iron Maw was a monster, 2 kilometers long. Heavy armor. Military-grade shields. Guns that could crack a station open like an egg. Station Varath 9 had no defenses. It was a civilian station. A place for trade and salvage and peaceful business. It was not built to fight. Panic spread through the corridors. Merchants closed their shops. Families grabbed their children and ran to evacuation shuttles. The docking bays filled with people trying to escape. Tejo did not run. He stood in the command center of the Vexus, watching the sensor display. 15 red dots surrounded the station. They moved slowly, like predators circling wounded prey. 15 vessels, the Vexus reported. The destroyer is the primary threat. Its shields are military grade. Its main guns can fire every 30 seconds. At full power, it will breach the station hull in 4 volleys. Can we stop it? Yuna asked from the weapons station. The ship was quiet for a moment. I am not fully restored. Many systems remain offline. My shields are weak. My engines are slow. My ammunition reserves are limited. Tejo felt his stomach tighten. However, the ship's voice changed. It grew deeper, darker. Something ancient woke up in those electronic circuits. I was built to kill destroyers. I was designed for this exact purpose. In my lifetime, I have destroyed 14 vessels of that class. 14 captains watched their ships die around them because they underestimated me. The lights on the bridge brightened. I would like to make it 15. Tejo walked to the captain's chair. It sat in the center of the bridge, raised slightly above the other stations. The chair was old. The leather was cracked. No one had sat there for 3,000 years. The Vexus had never allowed anyone to sit there. Not the salvagers who tried to claim it. Not the auctioneers who inspected it. Not Tejo himself. In all the months he had worked aboard. But now, as Tejo approached, the restraints unlocked with a soft click. You are not my captain, the Vexus said quietly. The bonding rituals were not performed. The oaths were not spoken. By Korathi law, you have no right to that chair. Tejo stopped. His hand rested on the armrest. But I have watched you. I have seen your dedication. I have felt your hands repair my wounds. I have heard your voice in my corridors, day after day, refusing to give up. A pause. You are not my captain, but you are acceptable. Sit. Tejo sat down. The chair adjusted around him. Straps secured his body. A display flickered to life in front of him, showing the battle space outside. Yuna strapped into the weapons station. Her hands moved across the controls, checking systems, preparing guns. Ready, she said. Ready, the Vexus confirmed. Undock, Tejo ordered. The Vexus disconnected from the station. Its engines fired, pushing the ship away from the docking berth. It moved into open space, alone against 15 enemies. The pirate fleet noticed immediately. Ships turned toward the Vexus, weapons powered up. Grath's voice crackled over the communication channel. It was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. Human. I am impressed you came out to fight. I expected you to hide behind the station like a coward. Tejo opened a return channel. Counteroffer. Leave now, and my ship might let you live. Laughter filled the frequency, not just from Grath, from every ship in the fleet. They found this hilarious. One old cruiser against 15 armed vessels. The math was simple. The outcome was obvious. Little human, Grath said. I will take your ship. The Vexus spoke. Its voice did not go through the communication channel. It spoke only to Tejo and Yuna, inside the bridge. They are amused. They should not be. The battle began. The pirate fleet moved first. 5 raiders broke from the formation and charged toward the Vexus, guns blazing. Plasma bolts streaked through space, bright and deadly. The Vexus moved. It did not move like an old ship. It did not move like a damaged vessel barely held together with salvaged parts. It moved like a predator. Fast, precise, hungry. The plasma bolts missed. The Vexus slipped between them like water through fingers. Its point defense turrets fired, picking off the bolts that came too close. Then it struck back. The main guns fired. Twin beams of superheated plasma cut through space. The first raider exploded. Then the second. Then the third. Yuna shouted with joy. These weapons are incredible. They are adequate, the Vexus replied. But there was pride in its voice. The remaining raiders tried to retreat. The Vexus hunted them down. It was faster than they expected. more agile than something that size should be. 2 more ships died in the next 60 seconds. 10 enemies remained. Grath stopped laughing. All ships. Formation attack. Destroy that thing. The remaining pirates regrouped. They formed a proper attack pattern, covering each other, coordinating their fire. They were not joking anymore. They understood they were fighting something dangerous. The battle became harder. The Vexus took hits. Its shields flickered with each impact. Warning lights appeared on Tejo's display. Damage to the port hull. Power fluctuations. In Section 7. Shield strength. Dropping. 30% shields, the ship reported. Its voice was calm but strained. 25%. Can you hold? Tejo asked. I will hold. Yuna fired the main guns again. Another raider died. Then another. But the Iron Maw was moving now. Grath's destroyer pushed through the battle. Its massive hull shrugging off damage that would have killed smaller ships. Its main guns charged with a sound like thunder. Incoming fire from the destroyer, the Vexus warned. Brace for impact. The shot hit. The Vexus shook violently. Tejo was thrown against his restraints. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. Lights flickered and died. Shields down, the ship reported. Hull breach in Sections 4 and 9. Sealing bulkheads. We cannot take another hit like that, Yuna said. Her voice was tight but controlled. The Iron Maw was charging again. Tejo looked at the display. The destroyer was huge. Its shields were intact. Its guns were powerful. By every measure, the Vexus should lose this fight. But Tejo had learned something in the past year. He had learned it from his mother. Fixing broken machines that everyone said were beyond repair. He had learned it from the Vexus itself, a ship that everyone said was cursed and dead. Sometimes the numbers did not matter. Main guns, he said. Maximum power. Everything we have. That will drain our remaining power reserves, the Vexus warned. I know. If we miss, we will be helpless. Then we will not miss. Silence. Then the ship spoke. And its voice was different now. Not the grieving voice of a wounded vessel. Not the cautious voice of a watching mind. This was something older, something that remembered what it meant to be a weapon. Charging main guns. Targeting the destroyer's reactor. This will be a precision shot. I will need 3 seconds of stable flight. You will have them. The Vexus turned toward the Iron Maw. The remaining pirates fired at it, but it ignored the damage. It was focused on one thing only. The destroyer fired again. The Vexus rolled. The shot missed by meters. Close enough to feel the heat. 2 seconds. The ship steadied itself. The main guns hummed with terrible power. Every light on the bridge dimmed as energy flowed into the weapons. 1 second. Grath's voice came over the comm, screaming orders. Now. The Vexus fired. Twin beams of plasma crossed the void. They struck the Iron Maw's engines first, cutting through armor like paper. Then they found the reactor. For one beautiful moment, nothing happened. Then the destroyer came apart. It exploded from the inside, fire and debris blooming into space like a deadly flower. Grath died in that explosion. His entire crew died with him. The surviving pirates saw their leader destroyed. They ran. They scattered in every direction, jumping to hyperspace as fast as their engines could take them. The battle was over. The Vexus drifted in the silence of space. Its lights were dim. Its systems were damaged. But it was alive. The hunt is complete, the ship said. Its voice was exhausted but satisfied. That was incredible, Yuna breathed. That was close, Tejo said. But he was smiling. The Vexus turned slowly, pointing its damaged hull toward Station Verath 9. Let us go home, the ship said. I require repairs. And perhaps some rest. Rest sounds good, Tejo agreed. They limped back to the station. Behind them, the wreckage of the Iron Maw glowed in the darkness. The beast had awakened, and it was hungry for more. Word spread across the galaxy like fire. A human had done the impossible. A young man from a poor colony world had restored a Karathi warship that everyone believed was cursed. He had bonded with an AI that had rejected every species in the known universe for 3,000 years. And then he had destroyed a pirate lord's fleet with a ship held together by salvaged parts and sheer determination. People did not know what to make of this story. Some said it was exaggerated. Some said it was impossible. Some said it must be a trick, a lie, a misunderstanding. But on Station Verath 9, everyone knew the truth. They had seen the battle with their own eyes. They had watched the Iron Maw explode. They had seen the Vexus limp home, damaged but victorious. The Korathi Preservation Society arrived 2 weeks after the battle. They were a group of academics who studied the extinct Korathi Dominion. Historians, engineers, scientists. They had spent their lives researching a civilization that had been dead for 3,000 years. When they heard about the Vexus, they came immediately. Their leader was an old alien with white fur and kind eyes. His name was too complex for human tongues to speak, so Tejo just called him Professor. The professor examined the Vexus with trembling hands. He scanned its systems. He analyzed its AI. He studied every circuit and every line of code. Remarkable, he whispered. Truly remarkable. What do you see? Tejo asked. The bonding protocols have adapted. This should not be possible. Korathi ships were designed to bond with one captain forever. When the captain dies, the ship dies too. That was their way. The professor turned to look at Tejo. But this ship has changed. Its AI has rewritten its own core programming. It has created something new, a different kind of bond. Not Korathi, but something else. What does that mean? It means you have done something that we believed was impossible. You have given a dead civilization's last warrior a reason to live again. You have shown it that purpose can be found in unexpected places. The professor smiled sadly. The Korathi would be proud. And perhaps a little confused. More people came. Not academics this time. Not merchants or curiosity seekers. These were lost souls. Broken people. Wanderers who had heard the story of the human and his ship and felt something awaken in their hearts. The first was Donghyun. He was 32 years old, with quick hands and a crooked smile. He had been a pilot once, one of the best in the corporate fleets. Then he crashed a transport ship into a corrupt governor's mansion, on purpose. The governor had been laundering money that was supposed to feed starving refugees. Donghyun had seen the evidence. He had tried to report it through proper channels. Nobody listened, so he took matters into his own hands. The crash destroyed the mansion and most of the evidence. The governor survived but lost everything. Donghyun lost his pilot's license and spent 2 years in prison. I heard you need a pilot, he said when he arrived at the Vexus. Tejo looked at him. I heard you crashed your last ship into a building. It was a good building, deserved to be crashed into. The Vexus spoke. His reflexes are excellent. His flight records show exceptional skill. I accept him, Donghyun grinned. The ship likes me. The second was Su Jin. She was a medic, small and quiet, with gentle hands that had saved many lives. She had been blacklisted by every major corporation because she refused to stop treating refugees that the companies wanted dead. They said helping the enemy was treason, she explained. But children are not enemies. Sick people are not enemies. I could not just let them die. The third was Hajin. He had been a corporate spy, skilled at stealing secrets and infiltrating secure facilities. Then he discovered that his employers were testing illegal weapons on colony worlds. Weapons that killed thousands. He leaked the documents. The company was destroyed. But so was Hajin's career. Nobody trusted a spy who turned on his masters. I did the right thing, he said quietly. But nobody wanted to hear it. One by one, they came. Broken people. Rejected people. People who had made choices that the galaxy could not forgive. The Vexus accepted them all. Its corridors lit up as they walked through. Its systems responded to their voices. The ship was healing, compartment by compartment, as its new crew filled it with life. Tejo watched it happen with something like wonder. One night, he sat alone in the captain's chair. The bridge was quiet. Outside the viewport, stars glittered like scattered diamonds. "You should sleep," the Vexus said. "I cannot. Too much to think about." "I cannot. You are worried about the future." Tejo nodded slowly. "We destroyed Grath's fleet. But there will be others. Bigger threats. More powerful enemies. This ship is valuable. People will come for it. Yes, they will. Are you worried?" The Vexus was silent for a moment. "I was dormant for centuries. I drifted in empty space, alone with my memories. My captain was dead. My crew was gone. I had nothing left but grief and rage." The ship's lights dimmed slightly. "I wished for death. I attacked anyone who came near, because existence without purpose was unbearable. Every salvager, every auctioneer, every hopeful fool who thought they could claim me, I rejected them all." "What changed?" "You sat in my airlock and told me about your mother. You spoke to me as though I mattered, as though I was more than a collection of circuits and weapons." The lights brightened again. "Tejo, I am no longer afraid of the future, because I know that whatever comes, I will not face it alone. I will face it with my crew, with Yuna and Donghyun and Sujin and Hajin." "With you," Tejo smiled. "That is surprisingly sentimental for a warship. Do not become accustomed to it. I have a reputation to maintain." The door to the bridge opened. Yuna walked in, carrying 2 cups of hot tea. She handed one to Tejo and sat down at her station. "Cannot sleep either?" Tejo asked. "Too excited. I keep thinking about everything we could do. The places we could go. The people we could help." "Help? Why not?" Yuna shrugged. "We have a warship now. A real one. We could protect convoys. We could defend stations that cannot defend themselves. We could make a difference." Tejo considered this. "We would make enemies. We already have enemies. Might as well have purpose too." The Vexus spoke. "I find this proposal acceptable. I was built for war. But I would prefer to wage war against those who deserve it." Donghyun's voice came over the intercom. "Are we having a secret meeting without the pilot? That seems unfair." "Go back to sleep," Tejo said. "Cannot." Hajin snores like a dying engine. Sujin's voice joined in. "He does. It is terrible." "I do not snore," Hajin protested. "You absolutely do." Tejo laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge. This was his crew. Broken people. Rejected people. People who had been thrown away by a galaxy that did not want them. Just like him. Just like the Vexus. "Captain," the ship said. Tejo blinked. "You called me captain. Do not let it go to your head. I reserve the right to change my mind." "Noted. Where shall we go?" Tejo looked out at the stars. Endless possibilities. Endless dangers. Endless opportunities to make a difference. He leaned back in his chair and smiled. "Everywhere." The Vexus hummed with approval. Its engines powered up, stronger than before. Its systems came online, one by one, until the whole ship glowed with readiness. No longer a relic. No longer abandoned. No longer cursed. The Vexus was reborn. A beast awakened. A weapon with a heart. A home for misfits who had nowhere else to go. And at its center sat a young human who had looked at something the galaxy threw away and seen not garbage, but greatness. The ship surged forward into the void. Their story was just beginning. Humanity does not conquer the stars with perfect ships and flawless soldiers. Humanity does it with stubbornness and hope and the strange, beautiful belief that broken things can be made whole again. The Vexus understood that now, and together, they would show the galaxy what it meant to rise from the wreckage.